Okay, so number one is pretty silly and very inconsequential, but it's a difference nonetheless. Upon entering the hotel as they make their way to the Capitol building, Ellie asks Tess and Joel if they've ever stayed in a place like this, to which Tess says that it would have been out of their league. In game, Ellie asks Joel a very similar question upon entering the hotel in Pittsburgh before all of the really bad stuff happens with hunters and bloaters and things of that nature, to which Joel says,
No, it's too rich for my blood.
But it was nice.
all right, number two is a moment between Joel and Ellie whenever Tess is scouting ahead just a little bit further when we first entered the hotel. Ellie asks Joel if he finds it hard to kill infected knowing that they were once humans, and Joel says yes, which I thought was a little weird. I don't think we would have ever seen this happen in a game, in a cutscene or just a conversation between the two throughout the gameplay. It's not really something that I think that Joel would say. I don't think Joel has a hard time killing infected. We see Joel kill a bunch of infected. And I don't think for 1 second he considers what they used to be. If we think about the people that Joel has lost in this story, right? Mainly talking about Sarah. It's not like Sarah turned into an infected and he had to finish her off, right? It's not what happened between Henry and Sam and what Henry has to do after Sam turns. So it's not like he looks at infected and he sees Sarah, right? He sees like a little infected and it's like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of my daughter from 20 years ago. She turned on Outbreak Day. So that didn't make a ton of sense to me. Also, too, if he is going to say this and it's a show creation, it just seems way early in the season here or the show between Ellie and Joel. I just don't think that they've built up that rapport or chemistry yet where he would be sharing any type of vulnerability with her. But just something that I wanted to point out. Okay, number three is the fungal network that we get introduced to here in episode 2. Infected, and it's a show creation. Look, I love it. I think it's a great addition to the show. We do not see it at all in the game, but for the sake of the show, I like it. It's one other thing that the characters on the screen have to look out for. They don't just have to look around corners and what's further ahead as they scout and what's the best path forward. They have to watch their feet. They got to look on the ground too. You really just have to be aware of every single thing that you step on, because if you step on this, you're going to trigger another fungal network that could be 200, 300, 400 yards away. And before you know it, you have a horde of infected on you, which we will see at the end of this episode. And as I said, this is not in the game at all. And I'm happy it's not in the game, because I don't think the game is built at that pace. And the pace I'm thinking of is something like Left 4 Dead. That's what this, fungal network makes me think of. It's like a Left 4 Dead mechanism, right? In particular, the car alarms. If you bump up against a car alarm or you have a stray bullet that hits off the car alarm in Left 4 Dead, hey, guess what? Now you got the horde alerted to your location. And before you know it, you're going to have 50, 60 infected running up on you, trying to claw and rip away at you. Again, Left 4 Dead is built at that speed. It's very much run and gun, make your way to the next safe house, 4 or 5 safe houses, you fight the boss, and hopefully you can jump on the helicopter that gets you the hell out of Dodge. All right, number 4 is Ellie being bitten by the clicker in the museum. That does not happen in the game. Now, they use this in the show here, I think, as a mechanism to show Joel and Tess just how real Ellie's immunity is. Hey, look, you looked at my old scar. I told you that I was infected, that I was bit. Maybe that was a coincidence. Maybe I was lucky. Hey, guess what? Look, I got bit again, and I'm going to be just fine. Now, the game comparison to this TV show moment, I think at least when I see this, is just after the Capitol building and us losing Tess. It's whenever Joel and Ellie run down below. They're trying to get away from Fedra, and they're down in that tunnel, that subway system there, and Joel has his mask on. Ellie does not. Ellie's breathing in a bunch of spores, and Joel's like, how is this not affecting you? This is the game moment when Joel realizes just how real Ellie's immunity is, just like the TV version was her getting bit again. But we know that they don't have spores in this first season of The Last of Us, so they had to do a little swap. Okay, the final one here, and it's going to be Tess's last stand, her sacrifice here. Everything that takes place at the Capitol building in the game, we get there. The Fireflies, yes, they're already gone. Oh man. The difference in the game is that Fedra has decided to leave the quarantine zone, risking the lives of their men and all of their resources to continue their pursuit against the Fireflies. This is when we find out that Tess was bitten back in the museum. I'm thinking it's probably the moment when Joel bursts through the door there like Fred Flintstone and sees the infected on top of Tess. Tess is going to go ahead and sacrifice her remaining moments here to buy Joel and Ellie time to get out of the Capitol building and continue on their journey. In the show, Fedra does not go out there, which I think actually makes a lot of sense. You know, why would Fedra chase the Fireflies all the way out to the Capitol building? They could be getting lured into a trap. The Fireflies are leaving for good anyway. Like they're out of there. Like why waste the men and the resources to go out there and continue picking away at them? What happens in the show is that one of the Fireflies were infected. They turn, and then before you know it, they got a full blown fight on their hands. This is whenever Joel, Ellie, and Tess are in there. They step on one of those fungal network tendrils there, whatever you want to call it, alerting the horde to their position. Yes, that's the big horde that they saw earlier in the episode that looked like, I don't even know, at least 100, if not 200 infected. Quite a lot. But then, of course, just like in the game, Tess does go and sacrifice herself, and she almost screws it up, like royally screws it up. Tess chooses the wrong weapon in her inventory in these final moments as she chooses the Zippo over the grenade. I'd have to imagine that just simply pulling the pin on the grenade there has less chance for error than a Zippo does, as we see her barely get that Zippo lighting as she's in full smooch there with a runner that's like almost halfway over into a stalker by the looks of it. But she is able to go ahead and drop the lighter there and blowing up the entire Capitol building. That part was pretty cool. Seeing the explosion and then the fire blow out of the other side as Ellie and Joel are running away there into the woods was pretty epic. I mentioned already that it just really doesn't make a ton of sense for Fedra to go from the QZ all the way to the Capitol building. You know, you can go ahead and make that work and happen there in the game, but in the TV show, I think they try to make things seem a little bit more realistic, and it just doesn't make sense for them to make that sacrifice or that risk to go out there and hunt down a group of people that are already trying to leave. So that's all I've got here for episode 2, Infected. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What did I miss? What changes did you like? What are some of the changes that you didn't like? I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.